One is 6 o'clock, and what we will do, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Councilor Box, if you don't mind, could you start us off with a prayer? And
Be glad, thanks.
all right.
Father God, I thank you for this day. Lord, I thank you for the struggles it's brought. I thank you for the victories we've had. Thank you most of all, Lord, for your peace. I thank you that you'll help us see that we're all on the same team. Give us wisdom to speak with kindness. Give us courage to stand up for what is good and right. In this I ask Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Box.
Yes, sir.
Without further ado, we will not kind of hold everyone here. As everyone knows, I don't have an agenda with me, but everyone knows this is a special call meeting that we're having today. This is in reference to the road payment plan for FY, 2021, Mayor? Yes. Okay, all right. So what I will do, if you don't mind, is kind of turn it over to who, either Mr. Pennington or the mayor? Okay, I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, so you can kind of inform us of what's going on. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say good evening to everyone, and everyone is here that is here tonight, that if you would turn your name in to Lou, our city clerk, you get a road, everybody get a road. So that's what you get when you actually show up to the meeting. But I'm delighted to have this opportunity to be able to share with you tonight. This is the first time that I know of in the city of Irondale, and I've been involved over the last 22 years that the city has done a massive road improvement project for the city. The way that all of this started is when I was the city clerk in 2014. We tried to find a systematic way to be able to approach getting the roads done. So I approached the Regional Planning Commission with Sane Associates, and they gave the city a grant. I want to say it was about $80,000, and it was a 80-20 split. We wanted them to be able to do it because we wanted professionals to be the ones to be able to look at the roads, to be able to determine the condition of the roads, and then to be able to put a schedule together for us to be able to deal with it. We all know that across the country, we all have infrastructure needs, and we all have problems in all the municipalities. I would say that the city of Irondale is one of the few cities that actually has a plan to be able to deal with improving the roads and the maintenance in their municipality. I was listening to Mayor Woodfin, and they were talking about that in the city of Birmingham, they have $150 million worth of infrastructure needs. And they're only going to allot $10 million this year to be able to deal with that problem. When we did this report about 4 years ago, it said that the city of Irondale, if we had enough money and we could do everything at one time, it would take almost about $15 million to be able to eliminate all the issues that we have. And I am proposing to you tonight that the city in its initial phase would do a plan around $2.4 million to be able to improve the infrastructure here in the city of Irondale. That would include microsurfacing, and it would also include paving as well as crack sealing. Crack sealing is when you see the little, like somebody's maybe taken a black marker and they've gone down the road and they've actually filled in all of the lines or whatever. Well, when you see that, that's called crack sealing. Microsurfacing is not the actual milling of the road and putting down new pavement, but they use an applicator that goes down the street and it sprays a new fresh coat on that particular asphalt to be able to extend its useful life. You've probably seen that in parking lots, shopping centers, or whatever. Instead of them going in and repaving the whole shopping center, they will put microsurfacing. They will be able to do that, and it extends the useful life for about 4 to 5 years, Frank, to be able to do that. And then the one that you really don't want to do is when you have to go in and basically mill the road and pave the road. That's the most expensive thing. When the study was done 5 years ago, they determined that Irondale, 59% of the roads in Irondale was in fair or good or excellent condition. Most people think, well, the best way to be able to remedy that problem is you start with the worst roads first, and then you start to do work on the roads that are already in good shape. However, here in the city of Irondale, Sane decided that we would take a different approach. It's actually cheaper to be able to do maintenance on the roads that are good than it is to spend money on the roads that are bad and then eventually come back to be able to do the roads that are good. So that is the process that we're going to be able to use here. That's why we're starting out with $2.4 million, because in their report, they also said that if we spend that on the front end, we will have the city of Irondale roads, about 64% will be in fair or better condition. So that's the approach. They also decided, well, how are we going to be able to systematically deal with this issue? They created a plan to be able to roll out in 12 years to be able to deal with the issues in the infrastructure. They were going to do crack sealing every year for the first 6 years, and then they were going to do chip sealing the second year, microsurfacing the fourth year, and paving in the sixth year, and then they were going to repeat that process all over again. Well, you know that if you need to spend $15.4 million and you're only putting $200,000 aside each year, can anybody do the math for me and let me know how quickly you think that we would actually remedy the problem that we have here in the city of Irondale? Well, it would probably be my children before you actually took care of the issue, because we have 115 miles of roads here in the city of Irondale. So it would take an extremely long time to be able to remedy the problem. So after getting with Frank Pennington, who is our Public Works Director, and he's doing a fantastic job, or has always done a fantastic job in making sure that he keeps the roads up in the city of Irondale. And we also collaborated with Sane Associates to be able to sit down and to identify what would be the best way in the first phase for the funding that we have to be able to bring the roads up to basically fair condition, 64%. How would we be able to do that? We already had a plan in place. And if you went to the internet and you actually read the plan, or if you went to Facebook and you actually read what we were going to get ready to do tonight, I hate to disappoint you, but we were the only three people that knew what we were going to reveal tonight and didn't finalize that until today. So what does that mean? Whatever you read was incorrect. And we would really ask going forward in the future that if you want to have the correct information, it may be a good job to talk to the people that are here every day that do the work. I think that they know exactly what's going on. We have a very competent staff, and they do not have an issue with being able to educate you and to inform you about the certain things that are going on in the city of Irondale. So we would just ask that, at a minimum, that you would give us the respect to have that conversation with us first before you begin to have it with the Facebook keyboard warriors to be able to determine what we're doing here in the city. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to lay the ground rules. We're only going to be here for an hour. I've given you an overview of how we got to this point. We are going to give you a list of the roads that we're going to crack seal, the roads that we're going to microsurface, and the roads that we're going to pave. I'm quite sure that everybody is waiting for that list, and you want me to hurry up and pass it out so you can see what's on there, and then I can sit down. Miss Sue, one of my favorites, beat me up walking in the door. First thing she wanted to know was, James, is Rock Ridge Circle on here? I said, Miss Sue, it's on there. It's on there. Trust me. And she said, well, James, I read the report. It's not on there. I said, Miss Sue, it's on there. So I had to take the form back there, show it to her that it was on there, and then she gave me a little break. So I'm asking tonight, number one, you may not agree with the plan. I've shared with people for several days now. 10% of you all will be happy when you leave. The other 90% will be pissed off. But even in the midst of that, I'm asking you that you will be respectful, to listen to people give their opinion, not to jump on individuals. We're not here to fuss, to fight, to argue about what's going on today, or even about what has gone on in the past. Today is a new day in the city of Irondale. And what we would love to practice is the word unity. And unity means you don't have to disagree. You don't have to agree with me, but then you don't have to try to destroy me and tear me down in the midst of your disagreement. So I would ask everyone that if you're not going to say something that's going to be uplifting, if you're not going to give constructive criticism, if your goal is just to come in and to be pissed and tear everything down and burn the house down with you in the house, I would ask that schedule a meeting. Come to City Hall. Frank and I do not have a problem with sitting down and being able to do that, but we would love for this discussion to be a civil discussion, because we have very bright people in the city of Irondale. I think we're supposed to be one of the most educated municipalities in Jefferson County. So I'm just asking you to be able to show some of that education tonight as we go through the discussion. And if your road is not on there, the best way that I can put it is before the end of FY 2022, Frank, we will touch everybody's road in this room. So you may not be in the first phase, but you will be in the second phase. And we start our fiscal year October 1. So we could start the second phase October 2nd. So I don't want you to think that it's going to be an extended period of time if you're not in the first phase. But we just wanted to make sure that we began with where we left off. When they first started the project, they began to do the crack sealing. And I want to say that we only did, was it 18 miles, Frank? We only did 18 miles of crack sealing. With the proposed plan that we have tonight, we plan on doing 38 miles of crack sealing at a projected cost of $225,000. The other disclaimer that I want to put out, just because your road says that it's up for crack sealing, it doesn't mean that we're just going to do crack sealing regardless. But what that does mean is that the engineers will come out, reevaluate your road, and it may be determined that you need microsurfacing or you need pavement. So do not get caught up on what you read on the internet with the report, because that report was finalized in 2017, which means that they started in 2015 collecting the data for the report. So we can say that the report is 6 years old. We know that things in the environment change. So I'm just trying to put the presentation and everything in the proper context. So we want to spend about $225,000 on crack sealing. We want to spend about 1.750 on microsurfacing or pavement, which puts us around $2.1 million. And we're actually leaving about 20% we can't project the cost of what this may be when we put it out for bid. So we also put a little cushion in there for about 20%. And if we come under that amount, we will even accelerate it more and add more streets that are in the second phase. We'll be able to pull you up to the first phase, which means that we will get to you a little bit quicker. One of the things when we were running for office, nobody wanted the city to be able to incur any debt. With this $2.4 million, the city will not incur any debt. We plan on taking 100, and I'm just throwing out numbers, not basically throwing out numbers, but I'm saying, John, why are you laughing at me? Because was not really throwing out numbers, but these are good numbers based on how much money is in those funds as of today. The 10% gas tax that they created about a couple of years ago, is really called the Rebuild Act of Alabama. So we plan on taking about $100,000 of that. We have a 4 cent and 5 cents gas tax. We plan on taking about $400,000 of that, so that gets us to $500,000. We also have a 7% gas tax. We plan on taking $400,000, or this is my recommendation, council. So I don't want you all to, I'm not speaking for you all. This is just Mayor Stewart recommendation tonight. Whatever you all decide to do, I mean, I'm cool with it, but this is my recommendation to the council and to the citizens that are sitting in this room. So we have 400,000 that's coming from 4 and 5. We have 400,000 that's coming from 7. We have 100,000 that's coming from Rebuild Alabama. So that's $900,000 there. Last year we had a surplus of about $3.6 million. And in the budget, we actually set aside $1 million to move over for capital projects. I'm asking the council that we use that $1 million to be able to put that towards road improvements, so that gets us to 1.9. This year, as of today, we have a surplus of about $4.6 million. I'm asking or recommending that we take $500,000 out of the 2021 spending plan that we have and then move that over to the road pavement plan. So therefore, you have $2.4 million to be able to pay for crack sealing, microsurfacing, as well as milling and pavement. The largest paving project that we've had here in the city of Irondale. And we also have plans to continue this. And my recommendation to the council for FY22 is to allocate at a minimum $2 million to keep the program going. We don't know what we're going to receive from the infrastructure bill that's in Washington, D.C., so there could be some additional funds that are coming from there. We have $3 million that is coming from the American Rescue Plan. We should receive $1.5 million before the end of the year for that. So there are some other funds that are out there that we can tap to make sure that we have enough money to be able to do it in 2022. Also, I had a meeting with the director of ADECA on Monday, and he shared with Frank and I that there are pockets of money out there that we didn't even know that was out there. But he's willing to work with the city, has invited me to come down to Montgomery and sit with them to be able to see how the city can be able to even access funds on the state level. And he also shared with us how we can go to Jefferson County and make them give us some more money at the same time. So I want to let you know tonight, money is not an issue. The money is there. You just have to know how to be able to access the money. And you only know how to access it once you create a network to know who to go to, who to talk to, and to be able to put your concerns out to them. So that's where we are tonight. And what you all have been waiting for is this white piece of paper that we're getting ready to pass out. So who has the white paper? You can give both of them. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. First page is
Just on one of them.
Okay.
Just on one. Is it supposed to be on both of them?
You all need a few minutes to digest that sheet before I begin to talk. Also, I just want to say I want to thank everybody for coming out because to be honest with you, I didn't think that many people were going to come out about roads. I didn't think it was that sexy that we'd have this many people out here tonight to want to know exactly about what's going on with some roads. But if everybody kind of pipe down a little bit, I'll give you how these sheets are constructed, and then I'll give you a few minutes to look at them, and then we'll move forward with having Q&A. The first sheet that you should have received is the one that says crack sealing. Okay, well, okay, let's do it this way. Who all has a sheet that says crack sealing? Hold your hands up. So everybody has a sheet that says crack sealing. Okay, the second sheet you should have should say, we'll just say Stone Ridge Trail Area. How many people have the sheet that says Stone Ridge Trail Area? Those are the only two sheets you should have. If you have more than two, you have duplicate sheets. The first sheet deals with the crack sealing. We were able to complete the first year, so that's why it starts in year 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, we are actually doing 3 years compared to doing 1 year that was on the original payment schedule or the payment plan. And the second one is the one that says Stone Ridge Trail Area. And you'll see that it's broken down into roads to be paved at the top. And the second one are roads to be micro-surfaced. And then the second one says Queenstown Road Area, roads to be paved. Flip it over. And it says Northside Area, roads to be paved. And Northside Area, roads to be micro-surfaced. So does everybody have those forms? Okay, now let me give you the context of how these streets made it and why they fall up under certain categories. And then hopefully I've educated everybody enough to be able to ask some good questions about how we got to this point. Okay, with the crack ceiling, as I stated earlier, just because your street falls on crack ceiling doesn't mean that you're going to receive crack ceiling, but what it does mean when they come out to evaluate to do the crack ceiling, they're going to determine if you need to be upgraded to another level, because this has been 5-6 years since the last time that this was done. So that's why you only see the roads that are going to be done. The first phase is on this list. Like I was telling Miss Sue, the reason that some of the other roads are not on the list because you all are in the second phase, and I didn't want to put all of them on the same sheet to be confusing. So years 5 and 6 is when we're going to look at Rock Ridge Road, Rock Ridge Circle. Donna, looking at the streets in your community will be a part of that second phase. And I also said that this, because Ms. Sue jumped on me when I said it'll be no later than next year this time. So she went back there and she started having a discussion. Mayor told me we're going to have to wait a year. And I said, hold up, Ms. Sue, I didn't tell you we was going to have to wait a year. I said at the maximum length of time you would have to wait a year because the new fiscal year starts October 1. So if the council finds it in their heart to allocate that money in time, then we can begin the process in October 2 for those houses that are in the second phase. So that's what the crack ceiling was designed to do, prolong the streets for 3 to 4 years. So even if you got crack ceiling, at some point you would need to have it microsurfaced, or you would still need to have the milling and paving because it's more of a maintenance to give us some additional years to be able to spread it out so we can spread the costs out on having to come out to be able to do the things that are a little bit more expensive. So we're going to move from crack ceiling to the Stone Ridge Trail area. Stone Ridge is a subdivision that throughout the subdivision, when it was built, it has galvanized storm drains. And the galvanized storm drains are collapsing. And we need to go in and to repair those storm drains. But it doesn't make sense for us to be able to go in and repair the storm drains and not repair the pavement once we have to replace it. So that's why Stone Ridge is getting roads to be paved, because we have to go in and also deal with the issues that they have with their storm drain system. With the American Rescue Plan, one of the things that you can use money for is storm drains. You can use money for water lines. You can use it for sewer. And you can also do it for broadband. You can also, I can also do one of those numbers that they did in Birmingham. I mean, I'm quite sure the employees would love it if everybody got $5,000 as a part of that money, because you can give that to your employees if you want to. But they told me that they didn't want that additional money because they had already received some earlier this year. So they denied their request. So that the goal is to be able to recommend to the council that we use some of that American Rescue Plan money to be able to replace those storm drains that are caving in the Stone Ridge area, and then to come in and to provide pavement over those streets. And then there are some where the storm drains are fine, and we're just going to be able to microsurface those instead of going in and putting pavement. If you look at the Queenstown area, that area was chosen basically on the process that I was telling you about earlier. These homes were on the list for crack sealing. But once they went out and looked at it, they realized that crack sealing wasn't the solution for it. So instead of wasting money and trying to crack seal them, we moved them over to receiving pavement. And that's what we will do throughout the process. If you fail crack sealing, you will go to microsurfacing or you'll go to pavement. So we're not in it to just to be able to do something to come back to say, hey, we did something. But we want to make sure that we remedy the problem. We want to make sure that everybody has smooth streets, roads, and we just want it to be fair and equitable and make sure that we do that. So I know it may not sound to you if you're not on the list tonight, but I just want you to think maybe within 4 months to 6 months, you'll be sitting in the room getting the same list and we'll be having the same discussion. And then there'll be some other people that's here that'll be pissed at you, but then you can tell them how you were pissed at the individuals that was in the first phase. And so that's how we're going to work that. So that's why they are there. They were crack sealing, but crack sealing didn't work for them. So we elevated them to getting the roads paved. The north side area, the reason that they're on the list is because they have failing water lines. They are on the Irondale water system. Frank, do you have those? Jared brought those water lines, and I kept telling them to take them back, and I think he may have taken them back. But if you saw those water lines, you would not want to drink any water out of those lines. I mean, they are corroded and they're really in bad shape. So what we're doing, again, we're going to go in and replace the water lines, and then we'll do the paving at the same time. So we get an opportunity to be able to kill two birds with one stone. We've already put out a bid for the materials for the pipe. It will be $160,000 was the lowest bidder for that particular project there. And that's money that we can also use from the American Rescue Plan. So again, we're not touching any of the money that is in the reserve. We're not touching any money that's in the general fund, but we're actually using the money that we're receiving from the federal government. And that pretty much covers why they are receiving the pavement and also the microsurfacing. So that's just a quick overview of how Frank, myself, and Matt came up with it. If it's a good plan, you all can say your mayor did it. If it's a bad plan, you can put it on your public works director. He used to catching the heat all the time. So if you want to take somebody with you and you don't want people to bother you, take your public works director, because they will respect you as the mayor, but they have all the questions for the public works director. So the last time we went to speak in the neighborhood, we gave our little spiel, and Frank gave his little spiel, and we walked off, and we were sitting over there in the little group just looking at how Frank was getting peppered by all of the questions that was coming from the community. So he's used to receiving abuse. So if y'all want to abuse Frank, he's cool with it. The mayor just want the good stuff. So, but Frank, no, I love him to death. So we kid and joke all the time. So questions? Yeah.
Is there an option with when Birmingham did some paving in their area, they made it kind of a penalty if you dug up the street to replace your own main before after they did it over a certain period of time? Have you considered that at all?
Are you talking about with the utilities?
Yeah.
Yes, we have that with in all of the franchise agreements that they are supposed to make their cuts and to put it back to the condition that it was in before they went in and made their cuts to do what they do. Well, that's why we're doing storm drains in Stone Ridge, because we're going in to replace that. And that's why we're doing water lines in the north side, because we are doing that so we don't encounter that problem that you're talking about, how utilities go in and make cuts after fresh pavement has been down, and then before you know it, you got a hodgepodge going down the street that looks like a checkerboard. Microsurfacing is a liquid that, Frank, I'm going to let you.
Not gravel, it's just like a sand-based aggregate put over, adds about a half inch. And on those, and this is the 30,000-foot view that you're looking at, Spain, when they did this plan, came back and reevaluated every road that we were roads they could do the microsurfacing on, which roads that they could do the paving on. All of these roads listed, so you're living in, Stone Ridge and you say, well, I live on Cross Timber, this got gator tracking in there, you can't just cover that. All of these, like I said, this 30,000-foot view, all of these have patch repairs where they go in and fix the base where that gator cracking is. They asphalt that back over and then they seal it over the top. So you don't have to worry about them covering up a bunch of stuff that's just gonna break up again.
Next, that's one for me with the term.
Josh, do you want them to come and use the microphone?
No, it's fine. I'm just picking it up from the room. It's hard to
Okay, all right.
You've engaged Sane, and this is kind of a two-part question. You engaged Sane and Associates on the roads. Have you engaged them as far as traffic engineering as well? And
Yeah,
let me follow that up
Okay.
before you finish. The reason I ask that is sort of conspicuous by its absence on this is Belmont and Grants Mill Road. And the traffic on Belmont is just, since I've lived in my neighborhood, has gone up like 100-fold. And that road is getting a tremendous amount of traffic, and it's taken a huge wear on it. So, what's the plan for those roads? And if as we heard from our councilwoman, there may be a grocery store going on in the corner of Grants Mill and Old Leeds, that's going to further increase the traffic on
Yes.
Belmont and Grants Mill.
well, Belmont is a county road. So
that's out of
so
our
Jefferson
jurisdiction.
County is responsible for Belmont.
Got it, okay,
And also for Grants Mill Road.
okay.
Those are
Got it.
county through roads.
The reason I wondered is because Irondale does the mowing on the side.
We take care of the right of way,
Okay,
but the roads belong to the county.
okay, so that answers that question. But what about the traffic engineering?
We can have them take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, they've already taken a look at it for the proposed grocery store.
Yeah.
So they've already done a traffic study for that quarter. And also
Have they
they're,
done Belmont?
no, they haven't done Belmont. So, I mean, that's, like I said, that's a totally different deal there, but we can pass that on to them and get them to be able to look at it. Okay. Let me go to Mr. Gillette, and then Don, I'll come back
Yes,
to you.
I'm Colin Gillespie. I'm a retired civil engineer, and I looked over the 178-page report, couldn't read every word. Most of it was just charts and tables. But my first question is, I presume that the same will be brought back in concerning this plan, and they will go back in and revise the report so that it's upgraded, so to speak, to reflect the schedules, and so it's a living document that we all can go to the website and not have to call every Tom, Dick, and Harry to find out our street, what's the status. Not that it'll be upgraded, don't get me wrong, but every month or two, just because they find another street that needs to change. But that's part of my question is, number one, will they go in initially based upon your, I'll call it 4-year plan, and change the report, and then will they, over time, whatever, whether it's once a year, as they see things need to be changed, upgraded also?
I would say yes to both of those questions. We'll get them to upgrade the report. Number two, we're currently having the website. We're redesigning the website for the city, so we would love for that to become the official mouthpiece for the city. So you should be able to find, within the next 2 to 3 months, you should be able to find all of that information on the city website. But after tonight, we're going to post a list of the roads that we're going to propose for the council to consider for the first phase, and we will also create the list for the second phase to allow you to be able to see what we're recommending for the second phase as well.
And one other thing, in looking at the report, I saw several streets that were in the poor category, but it was a single street in an isolated area, and it wasn't touched. Whereas it appeared, for economic reasons, they grouped these various ways of paving, even though there might be, maybe they were trying to find out, it appeared there are several streets in this area, and maybe some other streets weren't quite as low of a category, but for economic reasons, to bring all this equipment in, it looked like that's what they did, and that appears to be what you did here.
Yes, when you are doing a paving project, one of the things you have to pay for that has nothing to do with the pavement is called the mobilization rate. So if we have them to do one road on Highway 11 and then come all the way over to Haven Hill and do a road, they're gonna charge you to mobilize on both sides. If we group everything and put it in the same neighborhood, we only pay one rate, so it's just a more efficient way to be able to get more work done and to be able to put more of those dollars into the streets instead of giving them to the contractor.
Good, that's excellent. Thank you.
Donna?
Mayor, I see that our streets are on year 4. So is that, it doesn't take much to confuse me. So year 4 would be like 2025?
No, we're doing that now.
Okay.
Years 2, 3, and 4 for crack sealing is being done if it's adopted by the council as soon as they adopt it.
And I think you're totally correct. This needs to be a living document, which changes with the changes of the roads and the conditions of the roads, you know.
Yes, we're gonna
It
put
needs to
everything
be
in the,
updated.
yeah, we're gonna put everything in the proper context.
Yeah.
But we had to start from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing is, our community has trustful gas and trustful water. And the history is, when I succeeded in getting us graduated from tar and gravel to asphalt with the county commission 35 years ago, Trustful came in and they laid new gas lines and water lines, and our newly paved community looked worse than a checkerboard. So I would like for it to be notated, when, you know, that Trustful is alerted. If they have any work to do out there, to please do it before the paving.
We'll coordinate with them
Oh,
before
thank
we
you.
before we do anything. Frank will take care of that. Make sure
Yes,
that
well, you
it's a
know,
concerted effort
Yes.
to make sure that, like I said, we don't come out there and put new stuff in. Then 6 months later, they come and cut everything
They
up
did.
and put
We're so
lines,
bad.
new lines in the ground. So we
But anyway, so we can look forward to
this year.
this year.
This year for us to come out, roads that can be crack sealed, we will crack seal. Those roads that we can't crack seal, that would need the micro surfacing or the paving, will go to phase 2.
And we do have a storm drains, I guess Frank could answer this, but they're not like Stone Ridge or your community. They are, what would you call that, culverts? Concrete culverts. And, you know, they have to be replaced quite often because they cave in or whatever. And so, I guess that would need to be done before our paving, you know, any kind of upgrades to our community, would be, you know, need to be done. So I just wanted to make that clear because, oh my goodness, when we get them paved, we're gonna be doing the happy dance.
Okay.
All up and down Robert Plaza
Well,
streets.
Hopefully y'all invite me to come out there and dance with you.
Well, guess what? You might just have to come share a hot dog with us.
Wow.
And get on your roller skates and skate on our newly paved road.
That's what we do. I'll be right there.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. We live on Belmont Drive, which is parallel one street over from Grants Mill Road. And, I'm sorry, Old Leeds Road, and it's about a block west of Grants Mill, directly behind EWTN. I don't see it on here, so I was a little concerned. Are you saying that I'm sorry, Belmont Road belongs to Jefferson County? Does Belmont Drive belong to Jefferson County as well?
No, Belmont Drive belongs to the city of Irondale, but the main road that runs through the thoroughfare belongs to the county.
I think we fell through the crack already.
No, you haven't fell through the crack. I stated that we didn't put everything on there. We only put what we were going to do for the first phase because we didn't want to put all that information out and for it to be confusing. Frank, is it in year 5 or year 6 for crack sealing? And if it's in year 5 or 6 for crack sealing, then you will be somewhere right after next October.
About 4 or 5 years ago, Belmont Drive was paved 2/3 of the way down the hill, and they stopped. And so that part looks pretty nice, and then you hit where they stopped, and it is crack.
We're just gonna only do 1/3 this time since you already got 2/3.
Start from the other.
No, we will have Sane to evaluate and tell us exactly what we need to do. So we're not gonna make the same mistake that they made the last time. But we'll let the professionals. I let Frank and the professionals. They'll make that decision and determine what we need to do. Because I was city clerk at that time, and the way that paving plan was set up is that each district councilor received $75,000. And based on that money, they used it where they thought was the best place to be able to use it. But when they used the $75,000 to be able to do the road in your neighborhood, it just didn't cover the whole road. So that's how you ended up with a half-paved road. And that's why we're trying to do this plan, so we don't end up with half-paved roads, crack sealing on roads that need to be paved. We're trying to take all of the guesswork out of it, give it to the engineers, the professionals who do this all the time, and let them report back to us what we need to do.
Yeah, my name is Jerry Hensel. We live right on that road that the St. Pedro's do. And 4 years ago, like Mrs. San Pedro said, that they came in and they paved half of it. That's when they deemed that it needed to be paved. So I'm confused as to why we're not on the list for tonight as being paved. Because the road that wasn't paved is falling apart.
Well, the only thing that I could say, we will reevaluate it in October. I mean, as I stated, we only are talking about 4 months, 5 months to be able to evaluate it to see exactly what needs to be done to the road. So we will reevaluate it, and based on our evaluations, that's what we'll determine to be able to do on the road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I live on Rock Ridge Circle.
That's right. You've been hanging out with Miss Sue back there.
So when the paving gets ready to be done on Rock Ridge Circle, one of the problems that we have on the circle is there is so much water that comes down the hill after they did that new subdivision up above us. And it just, runs down our circle, washing out along the side of the road. And so the edges of the road break off. It's flooding our yards and everything. And we've asked his department to come out and look before. And, but I think, it looks like when you're doing paving, that there could be something done that would help with all of the washing and everything that we're getting coming down the road.
Well, Sane is our city engineer, so they handle all of our engineering. Storm drains, roads, traffic. I mean, they handle all of it. So they can do that evaluation at one time when they're out there for the roads. They can also look at those other issues that you're having and give us some recommendations and suggestions for that as well. I want to be able to get somebody that hadn't spoke yet. Kim?
Mayor Stewart, would it be possible, I think a lot of people have things specific to their community or their roads, that maybe they can call City Hall and give that information, it'll be kept like in a log or something, so that when you do get to their road, you'll kind of have a heads up of things they're concerned about?
Yes, you can send all of your recommendations and suggestions to Miss Lou Jackson. And it's Lou Jackson. She's the new city clerk.
City clerk.
So you can send all of your recommendations to Lou.
Is that LU or LOU?
Just L Jackson at cityofirondale.al.gov, and she will catalog all of that information, and she'll provide it to myself and Frank. And well, Frank will probably be the one that gets with Sane, and they'll be able to work through all of those things. City of Irondale, AL.gov. Yeah, don't leave the AL off because we won't get it.
That's right, you'll reject it. Ask me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also, if you all want to spend additional time with me tomorrow, you can come to Coffee with the Mayor. We're going to have some coffee and some Krispy Kreme donuts. So
What time?
it's at 9 in the morning to 10. And if you can't make it in the morning, we're going to do the same thing from 6 to 7 p.m. So we'll make sure we get the morning crowd as well as get the afternoon crowd.
Would that be fresh donuts at 5 and 6?
Yeah, they're gonna be hot in now. Yeah, we'll make sure the light is on.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we'll make sure the light is on. You'd have to call Hamburger Heaven and ask them about the French fries. That's kind of like out of my pay grade. So I don't know a whole lot about French fries, but I do know a little bit about local government. Okay, Don, let me see if anybody else has. The lady in the red shirt.
Could you use your website as the primary place to post the date that you're starting a particular area and the date it's completed and who to contact? It would just be very helpful
Okay.
if you have one specific place and it not be a social media.
Okay. Yes, we could do that. Lee Allison is she works with me and also is the one that will be responsible for keeping the website refreshed. So her email address is Allison, Allison.
Could she put that on the website?
Yes,
Yeah,
we'll put it
just
on.
do
We'll
that.
put it on the website. Yeah.
At cityofbrowndaleal.com.
Mm-hmm. And her phone number.
Excuse me, Dr.
She loves me to give out her phone number. It's 205-951-1383.
Repeat that, please,
205-951-1383.
And that's her direct line.
That's her direct line. She loves phone calls, you all, so
I bet she
share some of the love with her and call her and complain. She'll love it. So, okay.
This will be my last one, I promise. So when we have new developments, like potential grocery store or a new housing addition, as in a Rock Ridge Circle that caused the runoff, will these new developers have to consult with SANE as part of their environmental impact study? Or do we even require an environmental impact study from new developers?
Well, they have to present their plans and their plat and all of that, and SANE does get an opportunity to be able to review that. I don't know what kicks in for an environmental study. I know when we're doing large developments like commercial deals, and depending on where it is, if it's close to the Cahaba or somewhere like that, you are required to be able to do an environmental study so you'll know the impact that it's going to have on the environment. But I don't think that that's something, a blanket thing that we require people to do, is it, Frank?
No, they have to meet the stormwater regulations for runoff.
So did that development meet the stormwater regulations if it's wiping out the one above Rock Ridge Circle?
Well, they just, what was it, Frank, maybe a couple of years ago, they just created the stormwater regulations. So before that time, there were no regulations. But right now, you have to build a storm drain that will capture the water over a 25-year.
The first 1.1 inches of the 24-hour round rainfall, they have to capture that.
So this is a brand new thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Donna, I guess you got the floor. Nobody.
What can I say? As far as developers go, are there stricter regulations for developers to take out enough bond money to make sure that the streets are paved and done correctly in their developments?
Yes, that's a good question. Since this has happened several times, in the city revised their requirements where now if you're doing a development, you have to bring us an estimate of what it would cost to be able to put on the final coat, Frank. And then we increase that by 200%. And we hold it on a bond until they complete the development. And once the development is completed, Frank will go out, review it to make sure that everything is fine. And then once Frank gives the okay, the city accepts it, and then it becomes a city road.
But the bond has to be, who sets the price of the bond?
The city.
The city.
So if a developer comes in and says, it's gonna take me $100,000 if I go bankrupt and I don't finish it,
Exactly.
then we tell him, you gotta take out a bond for $200,000. And we hold that. They can give us a CD. Sometimes they'll give us a CD to hold that CD, or they will get a bond so that in the event they go bankrupt and can't finish it, then the city can access those funds to be able to take care of everything.
So is this inflation sensitive? Does it, is it built in to the price of of today's, cost.
Well, it's the 200%. So,
Okay,
so if they
200%.
come in today and say, it's gonna cost me $100,000,
Right.
we tell them, you gotta have us a bond for 200,000. So that means that inflation would have to go up 100%.
Well, you know.
So now the city is
100%.
taking care of that problem where we don't have that problem with
And just
developments.
like water issues are, you know, are the restrictions for developers much more sensitive to, issues like water runoff?
They're much strict.
And erosion.
They're much stricter now because ADEM has requirements that they have to follow. They didn't have that up until, what, 2018, 2017?
2017.
So now they have restrictions. We have ordinances. It spells out the enforcement, the requirements, everything that they need to do. We have it in 3 different ordinances that they have to follow when they get ready to do something in the city of
And
Irondale.
who fact checks them?
Who
The
fact
city?
checks them?
Right.
Yeah, city engineers,
City
inspectors,
engineers, okay.
Frank. Actually, they have to pay the city to go out every year to do an annual inspection to make sure that everything's still fine. So,
Because we know that this has been a serious problem.
yeah, we have a lot of,
And a lot of people in neighborhoods have suffered.
right, that's why I'm saying, if you all want information, come to City Hall and get the information. We have the
I
information.
ain't been on Facebook.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
just,
guilty.
okay, but I'm just saying, everybody else get on Facebook and they start saying the city's not gonna do this and the city's not gonna do this and the mayor's not gonna enforce that. And, you know, the last thing we want to do is to have to pay April to defend us in a lawsuit. I know April don't mind getting paid, but we're here to make sure that we don't use April litigation services. We just want her to do regular city attorney stuff. So we're asking you all to trust us and believe in us that we're going to do the right thing at all times. There's no reason for us not to do the right thing.
Well, we certainly are waiting on that, and, you know, when you do the right thing, you will shine. And it will be very obvious.
Right. We got 3 minutes, so you got your road questions. You better get them in.
Could I ask you a question about Belmont?
Yes.
I realize your inability to do anything, but it's such a highly trafficked road, and it's so dangerous. Who in Irondale is working with Jefferson County to improve the safety of that road? It certainly would be nice to see it a little bit wider, perhaps a bike lane the entire way, because it is such a highly trafficked road, and even a walkway. Those poor people in the neighborhoods off of Belmont, I can't imagine trying to walk.
Well, let me ask you this question. You just said that it's very dangerous and people speed on it. Well, why would you want to put a sidewalk in a bike lane if that's the case? Because that's just making it even more dangerous for more people to get hurt and more things to happen to people. But this is the first time I've heard that Belmont is dangerous. And I drive down Belmont. I've been driving down Belmont now for 6 years.
A lot of us do, and I see some really nice people near where you guys live picking garbage up, and they're always happy waiting, picking up garbage. People are walking their dogs on Belmont. It's to make it a better walkable community. That's why I think it needs to be widened, have a bike/walk space, because I see people when I'm driving who are out trying to enjoy life and make it a
Okay.
walkable community.
Okay, duly noted. We'll note that.
Question, since they're doing all the development over by Shades Valley High School, how will they assist with traffic coming in and out in the morning with the school children being dropped off and picked up?
Well, right now they're just working on the land, but within maybe 6 months, the county is going to start working to make that a 4-lane road. So I would say the county would be responsible for traffic control and to figure out how all of that's going to play out.
Well, with school starting in August, that's what I'm looking at, because I come down that road every morning just to see how far they are with the traffic and the big trucks being in the center lane. And, you know, traffic ain't bad yet. So that's where, cause I have,
Okay.
when there wasn't any building there, traffic was always back all the way down toward the school where you had to wait.
Yeah. If it becomes an issue, or if it's well, I'll say maybe we'll just have a discussion with the developer and see what their plans are for traffic control, because that we do patrol that area, even though Old Leeds belong to the county. So let us have a discussion with them, figure out what their plans and what's their timeline for their construction and all of that, and then we'll see how that plays into school opening, and then we'll get with our police chief and see what kind of traffic measures they can put in place. Marcus.
I came in kind of late, so these are the list of roads that are prioritized first, correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
One thing I'd like to see.
It's 7 o'clock?
No, 7 o'clock.
Well,
Listen, I don't turn into a pumpkin until
This is the
9.
last one. You're going to close the session out, so you better make it good.
I hope that the developer and anybody else involved, the police department, would consult with the Jefferson County Board of Education
Okay.
about, you know, if we all work together, we might can make the traffic potential problem, a lot better. But, you know, I think in this particular instance, all the village needs to be involved.
Okay, no problem. We will
Maybe
keep
the
you
county
all
should consult
included.
us.
Huh?
Maybe the county should consult us.
Well, I would just love to say that I'm glad that we had this discussion. Everybody was very nice and polite to one another. And this is the way you're supposed to deliberate. You don't have to beat people up, tear people down, but we all live in the same city. We all want the same thing. We all want to move it in the same direction. So I just thank you all for coming out. Like I say, everybody get a road in this room. And if you have any questions, I would say that start with Frank, because he's the most knowledgeable person here at the city when it comes to this whole process. His number, I won't give him your cell phone number, Frank, but see, I know all of their numbers because I love to delegate. So Frank's number is 205-951-1426. 20. Oh, you giving it to Tracy. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, he'll send it to Tracy. So her number is 205-951-1420. But you can email him at fpennington@cityofirondaleal.gov, and he will get that. I called Frank Saturday about, 12 o'clock, Frank? I was going down Belmont, and because of the rain, there was a tree that was leaning over the road, and it was hard for people that they would try to pass. They'd have to go on the other side. I called Frank and said, hey, Frank, can you send somebody out here to be able to take care of it? I think 30 minutes later, I went back down the road, and all of it was gone. So you really do have a fantastic public works department. We do have people on call, so when stuff happens on the weekend, don't think that you got to wait until Monday for it to be taken care of. But we do have individuals here on call. Does that go to the dispatcher's office, Frank? Okay, dispatcher's office, 205-956-5990. And you all can tell that I ain't given out the mayor's number yet. And so
Oh, come on.
that's 205-951-1413.
1413. And who answers the phone? The mayor?
Sometimes, half of the time, no. Right now, my mailbox is running over. So if you all would please forgive me, I'll try to get to it by Friday. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Wish everybody have a great night, safe drive home, and look forward to seeing you at the next council meeting on July 7th. Oh, I'm sorry. We're having a special council meeting on July 1st to be able to deal with some incentives for the grocery store. But it'll be very short. I will say that's on a Thursday at 6 o'clock. And then we'll have our regular council meeting July the 7th here in the chambers.
Good meeting.
Okay, thank you all.